One of the biggest challenges we face as leaders is stepping into a new environment and being able to lead well. We're quite often faced with the challenge of stepping into a new team and having to manage that team properly, stepping into a new organization, having to run the operations properly, or being pushed into new, uncomfortable, awkward situations and having to lead successfully. So, we're going to look at that today through one of my everyday events that have challenged my leadership. And today we're going to look at how moving country has challenged my leadership. Yes, just recently we have moved to the Dominican Republic from Australia, packed up my wife and my newborn son. We moved over here because my wife is Dominican and we wanted to spend some time with her family and her family to spend some time with our young son. And also we felt like the Lord was calling us to make this move. And so I must admit, we've been here for a year, just over a year now, and it has been a challenge. And I'm quite often being asked by people, what's it like to move country? And so instead of just creating a video that just says, well, this is my experience with moving country, I wanted to put an educational slant. As you know, I'm just a natural born teacher and I want everything to have meaning and purpose. So today we're going to use that and answer some of those questions about what it's like to move country, but take it from the lens of leadership. Because I tell you what, over the last 12 months, my leadership has been challenged so much just because we moved country. And so before we get into that, I actually want to look at one of the things that Jesus has actually called for us. Actually, it was a prayer that Jesus had for us. And that was in John 17, verse 11 to 15. And where Jesus had just finished saying, praying for himself because he's like, well, I'm no longer going to be here. I'm going to go. And then he prays for the disciples and he prays for them and he says, God, they are not of this world. They're new creations now and they are with us. And I pray that they be joint with you just as I am with you, God. But I don't want them to leave. They need to stay here because they've got a mission. And so this passage is where the very common church term of in the world, but not of the world, right? And I must admit, I've heard that so many times that I thought it was a literal Bible verse, but it's taken from a passage and interpreted from that, and also a number of other passages that has been interpreted from as well, that we are called to be in the world, but not of the world. And that means we are called to influence the world, but not be changed ourselves by the world. Be able to carry the light that Jesus has. And I suppose that's the ultimate call to leadership is we need to be around other people and influence those people and make sure that we are not negatively influenced by them. Yes, we can be positively influenced by people around us, but God's called us to make sure that we influence those around us. And that's the core of leadership. Leadership is about influencing others and making sure that we as leaders stand and stay true to our values, to our morals, to our calling, and to our purpose. And it kind of reminds me of this model. It's called the Berry's model of acculturation. And it's a quadrant where it just shows the comparison when someone's moving from one culture to another culture. Like, for example, me moving from Australia to the Dominican Republic, or maybe it's you moving from one work into a new job, into a new position. Maybe it's a promotion. Maybe it's looking after a new project. Maybe it's you moving into a new business, moving into a new city or a new state, which obviously happened a lot in Australia with people shifting and a lot of migration north. And so we are quite often as leaders put into positions where we are faced with a new culture. And the Berry's model of acculturation says that there's 4 ways in which we can respond or react to being in a new culture. And it's the balance between our what he refers to as heritage culture and the new culture. And so we can either take our heritage culture either high or low, and the new culture high or low importance. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the model. I actually teach this in our free leadership program. Yes, there's a free leadership program available, so check that out. Links are all around if you want to go check that out. But I actually take a whole week to teach this whole concept and this whole model. But I just want to brush over it to give you a bit of a perspective. The model says that you can either, if you place low importance on your heritage culture, and that's usually from a lot of refugees and everything, that they come from a place where they don't have much respect for their existing culture. That's why they're fleeing. But if they also walk into the new culture and have low respect for the new culture, what they experience is marginalization. Now, they may have low respect for their heritage culture and have high respect for their new culture. And that's where you have assimilation. And that's where people are becoming like the new culture. Now, a lot of people may say, well, isn't that the ideal, that when people step into a new culture that they assimilate and become that new culture? No. I don't think that I believe that's just brainwashing, because I believe that everyone who's stepping from one culture into another, they have value to bring. Me coming from Australia, I believe that our culture is great. I have a high importance on my heritage culture, but I also don't have a low importance of the new culture, because if I did, I'd be coming here and I would have disrespect. I wouldn't care for the people. I wouldn't care for their rules. I wouldn't care for the country. And so that's where you actually would experience separation. If you step into a new culture and you think that your way is better than their way and you try to avoid that, that's where you get separation. And you probably experience that as a leader, stepping into a new team, into a new project, into a new organization, and you feel like your way is better. And so you come in and kind of disregard the existing culture in the workplace. And you'll notice that there is a separation between yourself and the team. Now, what's ideal is, especially as leaders, is that we have a high respect and high value of our heritage culture, of what our experience brings. I know I've got great experience. I know that I'm bringing a lot of great work ethic from Australia, a lot of really high quality of standards, and there's a lot of experience in certain ways of doing business and certain ways of doing leadership that are done in Australia, that I'm taking that. But I also value the fact that this culture that I'm stepping into, the new culture, they have some value too. There is some important things that I can learn. For example, be a little bit more relaxed and focus a little bit on family and friends and stuff, rather than just focusing on working. And I'll get into a lot of it a little bit later on, but it's actually part of the core of that is when we take our high importance of our heritage culture and the high importance of the new culture, that's where we actually achieve integration. And that's where it's beneficial. That's how we grow as a society, where we can all grow and integrate, because we've all got value to share. I'm not the only one that's knowledgeable. I don't know everything. The Bible says we all know in part and we all prophesy in part. So we all know our bits. So why not bring it all together so we can integrate to become better? And that's probably the overarching rule or lesson that I've learned from my leadership in moving to a new country. But let me take you through 5 key areas that have really challenged my leadership because I moved country. So bless me greatly if you would subscribe to this channel, or if you've got any questions or comments about your experiences with stepping into a new environment, or maybe moving to a new country, I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video.